through the review. That way you guys can study at home or before the test if you're irresponsible. Like me.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification.
That's a quote from Jared. You don't have to do that. Okay, so the first question on here, I don't know if you can see it. It says, know the layers of the
Meninges.
Superficial to deep. So the first layer is going to be the dura mater, which is going to be that thick shell that's around the brain that's obviously going to protect it. And then it's the arachnoid layer, which is like a spider web kind of formation. And this is going to protect and nourish your brain. This is where you're going to find CFS. And then the most deep part of it is going to be the pia mater, and this is going to be where the blood vessels are. So you can show. So the dura mater is a tough outer layer connected to the brain, dense irregular connective tissue. The arachnoid mater is a web-like middle layer, and the pia mater is the innermost layer where the blood vessels are found. And we also have a video, and you can access this on my Quizlet. So next question. All right. So where is CSF found? What is the function of the CSF? And then how is CSF made? So where is it found? This is going to be in the arachnoid layer. Yeah, in the subarachnoid space. It's going to protect against trauma and injuries and provide nourishment to the brain. And the way that it is made is through the coronoid plexus, composed of the ependymal cells. Ependymal cells. Woo. All right, next one. All right, know how the spinal cord is organized in a cross section, so white matter versus gray matter. So gray matter is going to be on the inside, if you can see this little picture, and then it's going to be unmelanated axons. And the white matter is going to be on the outside of the spinal process, and it's going to be melanated. And then the posterior is at the top of the root containing the ganglion. So that's going to be, I believe, up towards here. And then the lateral in the middle, and then interior is bottom dorsal root connected to the spinal cord. Yeah. All right, so the monosynaptic reflex and the polysynaptic reflex. So the sensory neuron synapses directly onto a motor neuron, and then the poly one is going to be a reflex involving one or several interneurons. So main win with this one is that if it's mono, it has no monosynaptic reflex, it has no interneurons. And if it is a polysynaptic reflex, it's going to have one or more interneurons. All right, so the ipsilateral reflex and the contralateral reflex. The stimulus and response are on the same side of the body. It's going to be the reflex. And then if it's contralateral, then it's going to be the sensory input from the opposite side of the motor output. Okay, what is the stimuli goal? Don't overthink it. To be perceived by the cerebral cortex. Don't overthink it. It's fine. Okay, I'm going to need help pronouncing this one. Babinski reflex. Positive and negative, and its significance, and know how to describe it. This is probably going to be a short answer. So, a reflex in which a newborn fans out their toes. So let's just make the example. So this is a baby foot, you know. If we were to run something along it, they're going to kind of stretch out their toes, kind of going back. and that means that they passed. But the same test done on an adult, they're going to curl. And if the adult reacts in the same way as a child, that means they actually failed the test. So that means that there's something wrong.
With the central nervous system.
With the central nervous system. You could also tell if something's wrong with a male because if they have a boner when they're injured, that means something's going on. Fun fact I learned from the EMT. Okay, so this one's the next one, I believe. So know the function of the epidermal cells in the choroid plexus and what the choroid plexus is composed of. So the choroid plexus is actually going to be composed of epidermal cells. This lines the brain ventricles and produces CSF, and it's highly vascular portion of the lining of the brain that secretes cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, so superior colliculus and the inferior colliculus. Can you help me out?
Colliculus.
Colliculus, and what their roles are. So the superior colliculus receives visual sensory inputs, so this is going to be eyesight, and the inferior colliculus is going to be the auditory reflex and hearing, located on each side of the tectum and the process sensory information. So if you look at the picture, the superior is going to be towards the top and the inferior is on the bottom. And this is going to be by where the
Right behind the pons.
Yeah, right behind the pons. It's going to be like in the same area where you can look at the 12 cranial nerves. So it's going to be the 4 little circles by the pons. Okay, know the function of the cerebrum, the thalamus, and the cerebellum. So the cerebellum is thinking, personality, sensation, movement, and memory. The thalamus is the relay station for sensory impulses, everything except for smell actually, but it does play a role in like pain and sleeping, wakefulness, consciousness, and learning. And then if you go to the cerebellum, this is going to be the process and store information on coordinating voluntary movement. So this is going to be like posture, balance, and speech. Remember when the teacher was up in the front of the class and she just jumped in the middle of class? This is what she was talking about the cerebellum, when she showed you an example of good balance and posture when she was able to jump and land. Without good function of your cerebellum, you would just fall right over. Alright, know the 5 lobes of the brain and what each is responsible for. So you should already know these, but the frontal is going to be judgment, intelligence, and personality. Parietal is going to be touch and textures. The temporal is going to be hearing. The occipital in the back is going to be for vision. And the insula is going to be taste. So what is a ganglion? Yeah. Collection of neuron cell bodies outside the CNS, the central nervous system. Alright, know I need help with this. Substantia nigra. Where is it found, its function, and its role in disease states? I know. Alright, go ahead and switch it to the answer. I'm so cool.
This is it.
Alright, so this is going to be the initiation of voluntary motor activity, and it gives rise to dopamine paths that deteriorates in Parkinson's disease. So if it's disease, you're going to have a tremor or a shake in your hand. So instead of being able to, draw, breathe, you'd be like this, trying to write. It'd be really shaky,
Bro.
and it wouldn't be legible because your hand's going to tremble. Just an example. Alright, know the precentral gyrus versus the postcentral gyrus. So the precentral is going to be located on the front central sulcus, involved in processing movement, like motor, and skilled voluntary movements on the contralateral side of the body. So a good way to remember this is that towards the back of the head or the cerebellum is more primal brain, and towards the frontal lobe is going to be more established, more intelligent. So if you want to remember this, the precentral is going to be close to the frontal lobe, and so this means that it's going to be like skilled voluntary movements because it's more complex. And then the postcentral gyrus is the primary somatic sensory cortex, the main sensory receptor area for senses of touch, pleasure, pain, and temperature. So this is going to be, more more simple than it is complex, because complex is going to be more skilled motor functions, and then sensory is kind of more simple. So it's going to be towards the back. So the precentral is towards the front, and the postcentral is towards the back at the central sulcus. So remember that. Alright, move on. So the 12 cranial nerves in order, we can actually go off of this. So this is something that we made. So we did a little thing. So it says, okay, time to apply a facial and put on my vest. Gonna put my gloss on. I'm going to Las Vegas. I'm gonna accessorize and put some extra gloss on. So this correlates with olfactory being smell, and this one's the first one, and this is what the Roman numeral looks like. Then the second is optics, so this is going to be vision. The third one is ocular motor, so this is going to be pupil dilation. Then we have trochlear, which is going to be crossing your eyes, and then you have the trigeminal.
I think it's trigeminal.
Say it out loud so the video can hear.
Trigeminal.
Couldn't pronounce it, but this is going to be the sensation on the face, hot or cold. Then you have abducens, so it's going to be eyes looking down. And then you have facial. I like saying facial just as a joke. So this is going to be facial expressions, so sad, happy, mad, whatever. And then we have
Yeah, you skipped vest.
Oh yeah, vestibulocochlear.
Vestibulocochlear.
Thank you. This is going to be the equilibrium, so cochlear. Just remember that's like inside the ear, helps with balance. Now we can go to number 9, the
Glossopharyngeal.
Pharyngeal. I'm really bad with pronouncing these, but this is going to be the back 1/3 of the tongue, and then back third of the tongue. You go to the gag reflex. That's going to be Las Vegas. Just kidding, the Vegas. But that's why we put it as Las Vegas, because that's where you gag on a bunch of drinks. And we also have sesame, which is going to be the neck and the back, and then hypogloss is going to be the rest of the tongue. So this is what we did to remember it. These are the correlating numbers and Roman numerals. This is, what they are, and then what they do. Alright, now the 3 types of tracts. So this is going to be another one I need help pronouncing. Commissural, association, and projection. Going to the answers. The first one's going to conduct nerve impulse between corresponding from one hemisphere to another. The next one is going to connect different regions of the cerebral cortex within the same hemisphere, and the third one is going to connect structures between one cerebral hemisphere of the spinal cord. Alright, know the spinal nerves and how many are in each region of the spinal cord. So there are 31 pairs total. There's a cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, and coccyx. So it's going to be 8, 12, 5, 5, and 1. So cervical has 8 pairs, thoracic has 12 pairs, lumbar has 5 pairs, sacral has 5 pairs, and the coccyx has 1 pair of spinal nerves. Alright, know the pathway of the reflex arc and what effectors would be in the somatic versus automatic. So the first part is going to be activation of the sensory receptor, relay the information to the CNS, information process, activation of motor neuron, response by the effector somatic. The automatic is going to be a skeletal muscle lifting due to a stimuli told by the brain, sensory from the PNS to the CNS, and it's going to be automatic effector brain. The somatic effector targets organs, usually a skeletal muscle, and then that's good for that one. First order neuron, second order neuron, and third order neuron. So the first order neuron receptor to spinal cord, PNS / the CNS. Second order creates AP, goes on from the spinal nerve to the brain, crossing the brain, and in
Decussate.
desiccates. AP arrives in the thalamus, and third order is the thalamus, deep stimuli worthy, and sends to the cerebral cortex. Alright, know the ascending versus descending pathway and the difference between them and how they're named. So, ascending is going to be motor and efferent, and descending is going to be sensory and effector. So, ascending is going to be, going from the PNS to the CNS, and then descending is going to be like a response, and that's going to be from the CNS to the PNS. That's a good way to remember it. Alright, so know the sensory versus motor of the homunculus. The homunculus is the primary cortex. So the sensory is going to be the post-central gyrus, and the motor is the pre-central gyrus. So that has to relate to the post and pre-central gyrus. Alright, know what the pharyngeal nerve is. Controls your diaphragm. So this is going to be controlling your breath. So, cool. Know the purpose of the Golgi tendon reflex, withdrawal reflex, stretch reflex, cross extension reflex. We didn't write that in, so this is a cool interaction where you're going to answer this question.
This is an
Send it in
interactive
the group
video.
chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give them time to respond.
Oh, okay. Yeah, respond to that while I try to pronounce this. No phasic and tonic receptors. Don't laugh at me. This is to help you.
We're laughing with you.
Phasic receptors adapt rapidly to the information, and tonic receptors adapt very slowly to information about the presence of the strength of the stimulus. Know the function of the proprioceptors. Alright, so the sensory receptor in your nerve system and body, most of these receptors are located in your muscles, joints, and tendons. Know what happens to the eye if the lens is flattened or bulged, and what does each condition allow us to see? So if it's flattened, you're going to be able to see further, and if it's bulged, you're going to see closer, which is why when you're old, you can't really see really close up. So someone's gonna send you a meme, and old people are like,
Because of the elastic protein.
yeah, because the elastic protein has, unfortunately, not as elastic as it was. So people, when they get older, can see hopefully further away, which means their lens is flatter. But when it's bulged, you can see it closer up. Just a little reminder. Okay, so know what rods versus cones are and when each is activated. So rods is going to be dim light, cones is going to be color, and it's activated by light. I really like the example of a snow cone for color because, when you think of a snow cone, you think of like rainbow or red or blue or whatever flavor that you used to get as a kid. So ice cream cones have color, and then you can deduce that rods are going to be dim light. Know the visual pathway. So this is just a picture. You're gonna have to zoom in on this. So it's still kind of blurry, but in the array, this is going to be a good example of the visual pathway. So this is the brain, these are the eyes. So just remember, we were talking about this in class, the right side is going to stay, and then the left side goes across, the right side stays, the left one goes across. We will go over this in class.
It's the medials that cross.
Oh, it's the medial that crosses.
And that's the optic chiasm.
Yes. Optic chiasm, I think it's right here, but it's very blurry. You'll have to study this one by yourself, or on my Quizlet. Self-promo. No, the optic chiasm. Optic
Chiasm.
So this is a picture of the brain, and it's the little cross section. Again, you can see this
X.
when you're looking at the cranial nerves.
The X above the pond.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right here, right there, that's the optic chiasm.
Awesome. Alright, so know the sequence of events for hearing. We did this in class, and luckily I took a photo. So it's going to be the tympanic membrane vibrates, the oscles vibrate, pressure waves from the oval window travel through the scalar vestibule, and then the spiral organ hair cells convert stimuli to nerve impulses or an action potential. Alright, know the ganglia, posterior root and anterior root. We didn't answer this one either. So this one is a question that you can do by yourself right now.
Did you want me to get that one or no?
Yeah, we'll put that in later. But
Well,
here you go.
I got it. The anterior root is going to be responsible for motor impulses. The posterior root is for sensory impulses, and the ganglia is going to be on the posterior root. It's a collection of what is it? A collection of nerves,
collection
bodies,
of
nerve
cell bodies that are
cell-
found outside of the CNS.
Yeah.
Special thank you to our guest Jared for that.
Thank you, Jared.
Okay, moving on. Know the contralateral versus the
Ipsilateral.
Didn't we get this?
ipsilateral.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Just do it again. Oh
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
I'm pretty
it's
sure
right there.
we answered this earlier, but
Ipsi has an S for same and
Ipsi for
contra,
same.
contradicting different
yeah.
different
So
sides.
that one's easy. You got this, you guys. Know the difference between posterior horns and interior horns. I have a bad feeling we did not answer this one.
Well, didn't you just say this one?
Yeah.
Do you wanna say it one more time?
Posterior, when talking about the spinal cord, is always going to mean sensory. Anterior is always going to be motor.
Another special thanks to Jared.
Thank you, Jared.
Yeah.
Okay. Spinal nerves contains motor efferents, axon, CNS, PNS descending, sensory efferent, axons, PNS to the CNS ascending.
So it's like saying like the sense is
Yeah.
going to your brain, and then the brain is gonna make your hand move.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
has ascending and descending axons.
Mhm.
Yeah, so ascending is going to be like, this is a hot plate, I just touch a hot plate. It's going to, that sensory is going to ascend up to my CNS, my brain, and then the motor efferent descending is going to go from my brain and tell my hand to move. So it's going to go from the CNS to the PNS to tell me to move my goddamn hand. Alright, which sensation bypasses the thalamus? The thalamus does every sensation but smell. So, it just doesn't do smell.
And I don't know if it's asking for this, but the limbic system, that's gonna be like emotions and memory that bypasses the thalamus.
Yeah.
Special thanks to Jillian. Alright, know where the CSF is found in the
This
we didn't
one-
answer this, but we did answer this earlier. So the
Subarachnoid.
CSF is going to be the subarachnic space.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now how CSF is made. Well, we already went through that, but it's produced mainly by the choroid plexus, which is going to be the epidermal cells of the ventricles, and they flow into the interconnecting chambers, namely the cistern and the subarachnic spaces. More depth. Now how the meninges
Oh, we did
are
this one
organized
again.
and starting from superficial to deep.
Okay. Did
We already
yeah.
did that
Yeah.
one, so I think some of my answers repeated. Know the five senses. Come on, if you don't know this, that's a failure. But sight, smell, taste, touch, and auditory, so hearing. Alright, know what the
Gestation.
gustation is. Sensory system responsible for the perception of taste and flavors. So I got a little thing. It looks like little dots on your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
The little, yeah. Know the significance of the medulla oblongata. The connection between the brainstem and the spinal cord. Know the location between of the
Broca's area.
bronchus area in the brain and its role. So, I'm not sure if you can see this, but it's a small little picture. So it's going to be towards the, it's going to be kind of towards the bottom of the frontal and the parietal. So it's like right here, and that's the bronchi area. This is a key component of the complex speech network that interacts with the flow of sensory information from the temporal cortex, devising a plan for speaking, passing that plan along with the motor cortex, which controls the movement of the mouth. Awesome.
This one.
Okay, know the transducer is. This one's our last one. It just converts stimuli to an action potential. So for example, like how your ear converts the waves into sound. At the very end, there are the hair cells that are going to rub up against another formation in your ear, and that's actually going to be a motor process that turns into a action potential. That is our review. Good luck.
Yay.